What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Prophecy Misfits Podcast. This is episode 341. Open in a closed loop. And we're going to be going over a few things. A bunch of which has to do with OpenAI and what they've been doing lately with a lot of deals and partnerships that they've done, and how the whole AI tech system is basically a closed loop of circular funding. They basically just keep passing money back and forth from each of the same companies, and they keep signing deals and extending their power and their reach and everything like that. It's pretty interesting. So it's OpenAI in a closed financial loop and stuff like that. So, we got a bunch of things to talk about. But welcome in. This is what we do on Tuesdays and Saturdays. We get together and we watch all the crazy stuff happening around the world. And this world is plunging further and deeper into darkness by the day, and we continue to get closer and closer to the coming day of the Lord. And so we just keep track of what's going on. We're called to be watchmen. We're called to pay attention, so we're not caught off guard. And that's what we do. So a lot of stuff going on. It's kind of hard to keep track of everything, but we definitely do our best around here to do so. So welcome in. If you're new, again, that's what we do. Crazy things happening, and ultimately we talk about all this stuff and hopefully get somebody to Jesus, somebody who doesn't know the Lord and needs that salvation and that promise and the hope that we have. Hopefully we can extend the gospel to them. And if you're a usual person, well, you know the drill. Glad to have you here. So open in a closed loop. We're going to be going over a whole bunch of stuff when it comes to, like I said, AI and all that crazy stuff happening with technology and the closed financial loop and how all that's working. It's crazy to even try and figure out how it's working. To be honest, I'm still not sure how they're able to do it, but we're going to kind of go over that a little bit. We also got some stuff when it comes to updates with Palantir. We haven't talked about Palantir in a while. They've been relatively quiet, but they have some news coming out now. We got Musk's Grokpedia situation. We got some stuff with Russia and Visa and France when it comes to biometric IDs and cryptocurrency and digital payments and all that type of stuff. We got a bunch of things when it comes to what's going on with confusion regarding the SNAP food stamp benefits stuff and some other stuff when it comes to possibly extending war situations into Mexico and Iraq. So a lot of stuff there. So, and a couple things along the way as we go along to talk about what's going on there. So, glad to have you guys here and welcome in. So hopefully everything is... I started the podcast without getting the right stuff in for Rumble, so hopefully Rumble's working properly. Didn't mean to do that. I forgot to do that. So anyways, glad to have you guys here and welcome in. So, all right, we're going to go ahead and get into some housekeeping.
Housekeeping?
No, thank you. Sleeping.
Housekeeping?
All right, so for housekeeping, if you guys can, like, share, subscribe, get this out to as many people as you can. It's not about views, not about butts and seats, but it is about getting the warning out to people and getting people to Jesus. That's why we do this. That is the whole point, the whole goal. If our goal is not to share the gospel and to witness to people, then there's really no point for us to be doing this. But we utilize the craziness of the world. We utilize the command of watching in order to raise the alarm, answer some questions, hopefully give some understanding, and ultimately share that gospel. And liking, sharing, and subscribing, because of the algorithm and how all that junk works, helps to reach people who need the Lord, who need salvation, who need that blessed hope that we have. So if you guys can do me a solid, like, share, subscribe, I'd appreciate it. Also follow me, Rumble and Telegram. Those are my backup channels. If I get booted off YouTube, we'll be back up live streaming over on Rumble. So make sure you guys go ahead and follow me over there if you guys can do so. And then Telegram, post updates, announcements, and other little things here and there that I can't necessarily put in video format, and I just kind of throw up on Telegram. If you don't like Rumble, you don't like Telegram, I completely understand. Just make sure you guys go ahead and bookmark the WretchedWatchmen.com website. That's your one-stop shop for everything going on in this Wretched Watchmen thing. I don't even know what it is. It's a thing. But yeah, so make sure you guys go ahead and just bookmark the website. Again, we have everything over there, latest podcasts, live streams, announcements. The free book is over there and all that stuff. Everything you want to know is over there. So make sure you guys bookmark the website. And last but not least, if you guys like to support this channel and what I got going on, I got donation links down below. CashApp, Venmo, and GiveSendGo. This channel is not monetized. I don't make anything from ads, views, or anything like that. Runs solely off of your guys' generous donations. Again, we don't sell stuff. We don't do paywalls. We don't do subscriptions. We don't do any of that junk out there that seems to be a growing fad when it comes to the prophecy community and all that type of stuff. I think everything needs to be free. Our goal is not to hide things and try and keep things from either the poor or the ones who are just dipping their toes into the water and stuff like that. If I'm a brand new person that's just discovering prophecy, why on earth would I spend money on a subscription to something that I don't even know anything about? I would want to know what's out there for free. And I think that's what it should be. So because of you guys, because of your support and your donations and everything like that, you guys are the ones that make this all run. And I thank you guys. I'm very grateful for that. I'm thankful to the Lord that he has blessed me through you guys. So thank you for that. Okay. That's all we got when it comes to housekeeping. All right. Let's see here. Are we good? I think we're good. So, all right, we're going to go ahead and jump. Okay, Pickleweed's working good. Good. Okay. Good. Making sure Rumble is still functioning. That's what happens when you forget. You lose your mind in this game, and it all goes down. Got to make sure you got it going on. So, all right, Rumble's up and working. Let's go ahead and get into what we got. Number one. Tonight, we're going to go ahead and start with the OpenAI tech situation here. So, we got this. This was just announced. OpenAI and Amazon sign a $38 billion deal for AI computing power. So, these, of course, are two powerhouses in the technology sector of everything AI and cloud-based computing systems and all that type of stuff. And so this is coming out. OpenAI and Amazon have signed a $38 billion deal that enables the ChatGPT maker to run its artificial intelligence systems on Amazon's data centers in the United States. OpenAI will be able to power its AI tools using hundreds of thousands of NVIDIA's specialized AI chips through Amazon Web Services as part of a deal announced on Monday. And NVIDIA is another one of those big players, is the big player. They're like 4.3 trillion, something like that. They're the company, the big one. So before we go any further, we got to make sure we talk. Okay, so you have OpenAI here. Of course, we know him as ChatGPT, but OpenAI has been extensively advancing their power and their ability and their reach of their AI systems by signing deals with people like Amazon, NVIDIA, and several other large-scale companies, as well as having partnerships and tie-ins with people like Palantir and Broadcom and all these types of things. So what we're witnessing right now, when we see these deals continue to get signed by basically the same companies, is they're building a giant web, centralized web between them. When they all have crossover of systems and AI applications, that means they're building a web and they're going to basically control the whole artificial intelligence web that they're building. And so one of the main systems, of course, it runs on NVIDIA computer chips. That's where all the deals come from. We talked about how there's the mega deals with China that's going on there. There's the mega deals with the Middle East companies, the UAE and whatnot. We talked about the deal of the Trump administration and UAE and NVIDIA chips. We did a deep dive on that. If you want to know more about that. But NVIDIA chips are basically the main competitor when it comes to what all the AI processing giants are running everything off of. So that's why they're significant and important on this. Then you have Amazon with their Amazon Web Service, which is a data service, cloud computing, AI, just monstrosity that they have built. And AWS, Amazon Web Services, many websites, many programs, many AI systems all run off of AWS. We just had multiple actually over the past couple weeks, situations where AWS went down and thousands of websites went offline. Thousands of programs went down because they rely on that. We even saw that there was some spotty cell service and internet service. There was a couple days there when my internet was acting funky when AWS went down as well, that all rely upon Amazon servers, cloud computing, and their AI systems in order to make it work. So what you're doing is you're building a giant net where all these things are running off of the same company's stuff. And if anything was to happen to those systems, if one of them that goes down like AWS, then entire chunks of that net go offline and people are just left high and dry. And so when the whole AWS situation happened and went down several times, there's a whole bunch of talk, and you guys might be hearing this as well, that they're planning on crashing AWS. That's their plan of crashing stuff. I don't necessarily fall in that camp for multiple reasons. But then they're also talking about how this AI system is now becoming the new .com bubble. And if you guys remember, I'm sure most of you were alive during that period of time. The .com bubble, when that popped, it created catastrophic waves across the stock market, and people lost a lot of money, and banks and stuff. There's a whole situation there, but the internet kept riding through it. And so a lot of people think that AI is just a fad, and it's actually going to be different, where when the bubble pops, not only will everybody lose a whole bunch of money and crash all the economies and markets, but the AI is going to stop. But again, I fall into the camp where I believe that AI is not something that's going to stop and just be a fad. I think it's something that's going to continue. Now, that doesn't mean that AI is going to continue in the sense that we have it now, where everybody's running Chat GPT and stuff like that for fun. That's a possibility. I think that if that was to happen, I think that side would go down, but AI would still be working on the back end, running all of the major components, and that's a possibility as well. So I'm just giving you a few ideas of what's going on out there that a lot of people are talking about, but I'm also giving you a few ideas of how it could continue on, and I do think that AI will continue on. So those are just a couple of things that I wanted to make sure that we point out that's important to understand when it comes to the technology AI situation, because everybody hears talks all the time about the companies, OpenAI, Amazon, Nvidia, Microsoft, all these companies, but a lot of people don't necessarily know how it's all webbing together. They know that there's something there, but they don't necessarily know how it's all webbing. So I think that's important. It says the agreement comes less than a week after OpenAI altered its partnership with longtime backer Microsoft, which until early this year was the startup's exclusive cloud computing provider. Basically, OpenAI has been running on Microsoft servers. Now they altered that deal, signed another deal with Amazon, and so OpenAI is now running on both Microsoft and Amazon servers. That's what that means. It says the rapid advancement of AI technology has created unprecedented demand for computing power. Amazon said in a statement Monday. It said OpenAI will immediately start utilizing AWS compute as part of its partnership, with all capacity targeted to be deployed before the end of 2026 and the ability to expand further into 2027. So basically what they're saying is this deal that they have struck is going to be in full power by the end of 2026, and then they'll be able to expand it further from there going forward. And so some of the deals have raised investor concerns about their circular nature, since OpenAI doesn't make a profit and can't yet afford to pay for the infrastructure that its cloud backers are providing on the expectations of future returns on their investment. And so this is that open in a closed loop thing that I named this thing off of, because OpenAI is not making any profit, but yet they continue to sign just hundreds of billions of dollars worth of contracts with other companies to gain access to the computing power. How on earth are they paying the contracts if they're not making any money? Where is the money coming from? Yes, they have investors that are pouring money into this company, into the system that they're building. But if you're signing out contracts like that, you got to be getting some type of return back in order to pay for it, but they're not. And so this is where that whole web situation comes in, where you have OpenAI that's signing deals with Microsoft, and Microsoft is signing deals with NVIDIA, which NVIDIA then signs a deal with OpenAI. OpenAI signs a contract with NVIDIA. NVIDIA signs a contract with Microsoft. And it's just this web of them just passing contracts back and forth. But where's the money at? There doesn't seem to be any money that's actually going back and forth between these companies. So where is the money coming from to pay for the system that they're building? Nobody seems to know. Nobody can seem to answer that question. And that's where the whole just structure, and that's where my mind starts sparking things where it's like, well, clearly there are people behind the scenes that are funding all of this, saying, don't worry about money, don't worry about investment, don't worry about all these things. We're going to go ahead and just keep this thing running. You just do what you need to do, build the system ahead of time, and then we have plans for that future system. Now, who exactly are the names on that? We don't necessarily know. My bet would be the people who sit at the table. And the table, of course, is the table of Satan with direct access to the evil entity himself. Now, I want to bring this up. I talked about this a couple shows ago, which has to do with Amazon targeting as many 30,000 corporate job cuts, and they're planning on cutting about 10% of the company's roughly 350,000 corporate employees. So we talked about this already. One of the things that I want to make sure that we go over, that we're aware of, so we can understand what this actually means, because you will hear from most people out there that this has to do with, well, they're just cutting 30,000 corporate employees so they can just install an AI chatbot to take over their job. Now, in essence, while that may be true to a certain extent, I'm sure a lot of these people that are going to be fired will be replaced in some type of capacity, whether it's another human being or a task assigned to an AI system. That's not really the key aspect of what this means. Again, we talk a lot about the AI takeover that's taking over the jobs and everything. But the significance of the Amazon one, especially with what we're talking about when it comes to the AI web that they're building and the AWS system, is the fact that it's the financial margins of Amazon itself. When you think Amazon, the first thing that pops in your mind, probably for 98% of the people, is I can buy stuff there. You have the first reaction idea of Amazon is where I can go and buy something. I do all my online shopping there, and so on and so forth. What people don't realize, and I looked into this, is Amazon's web store where you buy all your stuff, it runs on basically break-even margins, which means they're not making any money from their web store. It's there simply to have on their books in order to boost their company, to bring in more investment revenue. Why? For their AWS systems, their Amazon Web Systems. Now, they need some of the world's most powerful NVIDIA chips in order to run the AWS service, which all the AI platforms and stuff are running off of. And that requires a lot of money. And so what they're trying to do, to break this down simply, because I don't want to get all technical because I'll lose a whole bunch of people. I probably already lost a bunch of people now. But basically what they're trying to do is if they can reduce their workforce of human payroll in services like Prime Video, which is like their Netflix style thing, their Amazon Web Store, which is already running on break-even margins as it is, and all these other aspects for the company that doesn't really do much for their payroll, doesn't really do much for their payments, and it's just simply there for stocks. They can reduce the workload of people over there. It allows them to free up more money in order to buy more chips and expand their Amazon Web Service, which is the important thing. That is what Amazon is now. Amazon started as a storefront. Amazon is now simply a cloud-based AI system compute network. Amazon has completely shifted from what we realize it actually was. And so now it's all about getting as much money over there. So when you talk about the AI situation and you talk about Amazon firing their 30,000 employees to replace with AI, it really has to do with the fact of the financial aspect of being able to buy more compute power, buy more chips for their AWS service. Just a little thing that I think is actually important, because we need to, especially when it comes to all the AI news that's starting to come out now regarding the financials, regarding the deals that are being made, regarding the processing power and everything like that, plus the string of times that AWS has gone down recently, which does affect us. I think we need to have a better understanding of what is actually being established, not just running with the usual thing of, oh, well, they fired a bunch of people because they're going to replace them with AI. It's not necessarily true. It's not wrong either, but it's not necessarily true. There's a lot more to it. And so I wanted to go over that as well. When it comes to OpenAI's recent moves, these are the deals that I've been talking about, where OpenAI is just signing all these deals even though they're not making any profit. And so here's just the recent moves. This isn't going all the way back, years back. This is just recently. OpenAI signed a $500 billion Stargate deal. We know that. They signed the $100 billion NVIDIA deal. They signed a $100 billion AMD deal, which is another chip processing company. When you buy a computer, you're either getting an AMD chip or you're getting an Intel chip. And so those are the two mega companies. And so they signed $100 billion with AMD. They signed a $38 billion with Amazon, which is the one we just talked about. $25 billion with Intel, $20 billion with TSMC as well. Signed a $13 billion Microsoft deal. Signed a $10 billion Oracle deal. Signed a multi-billion dollar, it's undisclosed amount, Broadcom deal. They also launched a browser to compete with Chrome. I don't know if people saw this, but they launched the AI browser, which is a web browser like Chrome, Brave, Firefox, so on and so forth, that is entirely established on AI. Don't even get involved with that, people. It's just telling you. They also became the world's most valuable private company. Think about that. OpenAI has become the world's most valuable private company, even though they don't make money. There's somebody fueling them from behind. That's the only way that they would get to that position. And OpenAI is also considered a $1 trillion IPO is going to be considered to be a $1 trillion IPO by 2027, continuing their valuation to move up. All of that signed, not making a dime. This is all deals where they're passing money to these people. They're sending the $500 billion or the $100 billion to NVIDIA, sending the $100 billion to AMD, the $38 billion to Amazon. They're the ones sending all that money out, but they're not making any money. And so we also get this. This is what I'm talking about, where it's just a closed loop of finances for these companies. It's pretty much 7 companies just passing money to each other. NVIDIA, OpenAI, Microsoft, Intel, Oracle, XAI, and AMD. All the little lines that you see are all deals of these companies sending money out to those companies, and those companies sending money back to the other companies. So NVIDIA is making all these deals with these 6 other companies, and those 6 other companies are making deals with NVIDIA. There's no outside resources coming in. They just keep sending money back and forth to each other. And this is one of the most important things that we got to remember when it comes to the financial system, because this is similar to the stock market, where it's completely manipulated. It's fake money. It's literally just numbers typed on a computer with nothing backing those things. There's no financial backing to any of these deals that are being made. This is where the idea, if you guys haven't heard it yet, which you might start hearing it going forward, that the whole AI system is built in a bubble. It's one giant bubble, because it's just money being changed. It's like, the best way to put it is like, if I'm standing there and it's me and my two friends. And I tell the friend on the left, I tell friend one, I got friend one and friend two. I tell friend one, I will give you $5 for your bag of pretzels. And I pass him that $5. Then that friend goes to friend two and says, I will give you $10 for your bag of potato chips. And so he sends the $10 over there. Then friend two tells friend one, okay, I'll give you $25 for this, for your apple. And so he sends the money back over there. Somehow they're just passing money to each other, but yet the prices continue to go up. Is anybody making any money? No. But what's being done is deals are still being made, and the production of what they're trying to establish is still going forward, all on nothing. And so that means that there's somebody behind the scenes that's paying for all of this stuff, and they're just making these deals in order to build something up that could or could not play a part coming in the end times. And so that's also kind of important when it comes to what's going on. So when I was talking about at the very beginning, the idea of an AI bubble, that if all of a sudden that bubble pops, which it could, I don't think we would see that, because it would literally collapse the entire economy, because it's like 30 to 40%. I think it's 38% last I checked. These companies hold roughly 38% of the entire economy right now between those 7 companies. If that bubble pops, everything's going. But will AI stop? I don't believe so. Will that pop? I don't know. But again, I don't think we'll be here to see that, because that could be the global financial collapse that will come, that again, I believe is going to be after the rapture of the church. And so when you start hearing, because I'm waiting for it, I don't know if they're already talking about it now, but I'm waiting for it. There's a lot of prophecy channels out there that talk about the financial stuff, that have been screaming the financial collapse for 5-6 years now, and they continue to do it, and they get everybody all hyped up in their feelings. And if they haven't started talking about the AI bubble yet, they're going to. I know they will, because that's a perfect clickbait thing for them to do, to get a whole bunch of people in their sensationalist, emotional mindset. So just want to bring that up on that as well. Okay, so sticking with Amazon, we also have this. Introducing Blue Jay and Project Luna, Amazon's latest robotics and AI technology for its operations. Designed with Amazon's frontline employees in mind, these innovations reduce repetitive tasks, improve safety, and boost productivity while speeding up delivery. So basically what they're saying is, for the benefit of our workers, we're going to bring in robotic replacements. That's basically what they're saying, is for the benefit of our workers, we're going to bring in robotic replacement. And so Blue Jay and Project Luna. And so here's part of it. It's basically machinery that goes, collects, and totes packages and items and so on and so forth. It says Amazon's newest operations technologies include Blue Jay, a system coordinating multiple robotic arms, and Project Luna, an agentic AI model helping operators make more informed decisions. Blue Jay and Project Luna work alongside operation employees to create safer and more efficient workspaces. These advanced innovations build on several recent AI and automation breakthroughs for operations like Vulcan and Deep Fleet. Because every time we innovate across Amazon's operation network, we start with a simple question: how can we make work safer, smarter, and more rewarding for our employees? I'm not buying that for a second. If you're one of those people that believes when Amazon innovates across their whole network, the first and only question that they ask is, how can we make it safer and smarter for our employees? I'm not buying it. If you've heard any of the news over the past 10 years regarding how Amazon treats their employees, you would know that that's not true. Now, I know there's several people who work at Amazon. And again, I always like to remind people, if just because you haven't necessarily had that experience doesn't mean that that's not what's actually happening in reality. And so I know that there's some people who work at Amazon who watch me that absolutely hate their job and they're treated like trash. And I know that there's some that love their job and they're treated great. So, that's not even close to what's going on. Just ahead of this year's busiest shopping season, 2 new systems, Blue Jay and Project Luna, help answer that question. These systems combine robotics and AI to reduce physically demanding tasks, simplify decisions, and open new career opportunities for the employees to keep Amazon moving, which, again, that doesn't make any sense either. We're going to replace you, but we don't have any other position for you. So, yeah, that's not really opening up career opportunities. So if we jump down, it says Blue Jay is an extra set of hands that helps employees with tasks that involve reaching and lifting. It's a next generation robotic system that coordinates multiple robotic arms to perform many tasks at once, collapsing what used to be 3 separate robotic stations into one streamlined workspace that can pick, stow, and consolidate in a single place. It's just more and more of robotic arms just moving around, doing the job of a human. Our engineers were able to iterate a dozen of these prototypes for Blue Jay with the use of digital twins. These are an advanced form of simulation that now allows us to experiment virtually using real physics to accelerate what we build. So we've talked about digital twins a lot, not necessarily recently, being that there has been a lot of other things happening, but digital twins is something that we've talked about extensively when it comes to AI utilizing human environments and human social and human social profiles in order to build digital worlds that allow them to run simulations to create predictive algorithms. And basically what they do is every one of us has a digital twin in their created digital world, their matrix that they have established. And what they're doing is, because of the amount of time that they have done studying us, studying how we move, how we think, our belief systems, our personalities, and everything like that amongst our daily lives, they install that into everybody's digital twins, and they continue to run simulation, 1,000 simulations a day, to build how the one might react to something. This is one of the major components of the whole 2020 COOF situation, is they're able to build a predictive algorithm based on how everybody reacted to a global event like the COOF situation. And they have it on smaller scale systems as well that they run. Like Amazon has their own system that has to do with building a virtual world of their warehouses. And they collect all the information of the warehouse, how it works, how it looks, the people in it, the robotics in it, and so on and so forth. And they run these things over and over and over again in order to build prediction algorithms based upon that. And so what they did is they created dozens of these Blue Jays, these robotic systems. They created the digital twin systems that work with it. They run a whole bunch of simulations, and they determine which is the best one for the best outcome, for the best job that they can do. And then they install that, and it's a way to bypass a whole bunch of trial and error. And this is the world that we currently live in now. Welcome to it. I would say that best example I can give is for those who watch this show regularly. You all know the time that we begin, about how long we go through this, and so on and so forth. Well, the AI knows that as well. It's gathered that information from your life and has applied it to your digital twin. So when they run simulations, when it comes to Tuesday or Saturday at a certain time, your digital twin during those simulations will most likely be at your computer, on your phone, whatever, however you watch, at your TV, watching this podcast. Just like my digital twin would be me sitting at my desk hosting this podcast. And that is being run through a digital AI simulation as we speak. A lot of people don't necessarily know that. A lot of people don't even want to believe that, but that is the reality of where we live now. It also says Blue Jay is already being tested in production at one of our facilities in South Carolina, where it's already able to pick, stow, and consolidate approximately 75 of all the various types of items we store at our sites. So this thing is pretty far advanced. It's able to pick, stow, and consolidate roughly 75% of all the various types of items that they store there, which means they're getting roughly close to being able to have these systems function and pick, stow, and consolidate every item that they have. And when you get to that point, at what point are you going to need human workers anymore? So we also have that as well with this Amazon situation. All right. Sticking with technology, we're going to be moving over to NVIDIA on this. It says NVIDIA teams with Palantir to go after corporate logistics business. So we have another deal with NVIDIA and Palantir here. It says NVIDIA and Palantir on Tuesday announced a deal in which Palantir will tap NVIDIA's chips and software to help its customers speed up decision-making in complex fields such as logistics. Under the deal struck Tuesday and announced at a conference in Washington, NVIDIA's software will be available on Palantir's platforms. The two said that they would help companies with logistic problems, such as when shipments of products from Asia to the United States are delayed by storms. And so this has to do with extending their Foundry program that's already being used all over the world in various positions of corporate logistics and shipping as it is. And so this is an extension of that NVIDIA is now going to be, Palantir is going to be using NVIDIA chips in order to power these systems that they're doing. Palantir is already plugged into, if people don't know, Palantir is already plugged into the NVIDIA production system as it is. So this is an extension of a partnership that they already have. Palantir is also connected, if people don't know, to Microsoft. Everybody's computers and stuff like that are all running through Palantir data sets, and they're gathering information and applying it to their centralized AI file system that they have. So this idea of being able to hide from Palantir is not an option anymore. As we know that there was the mega deal that was struck earlier with the United States government to build a centralized data server that Palantir will run. That is part of this as well. There's also, if people don't realize, Starlink is connected to Palantir as well. And all of the data that gets run through Palantir's AI algorithm and their data sets and their file systems, all the data that runs through AI or through Palantir's AI system is all getting shot through Starlink as well. So there you have the Elon Musk factor and the XAI factor and all that as well. This is part of that web that they're building, where it's the same companies that are all entangling themselves with each other to build this giant net. And so if you think about it from a visual perspective, I don't have an image. I've shown it before. But if you basically look at if you're in space, look at the world, and it's entirely covered with Starlink satellites. I think they're at I haven't checked this in about a year actually, but the last I checked, it was 80 something percent coverage of the world. I'm sure it's more than that now. But if you think about it, the entire world is covered in Starlink satellites, which means they cover the entire world. All the information that Starlink is gathering or is being passed through Starlink is also getting passed through Palantir's data system. Everything that Starlink is collecting goes through Palantir. Now, I can't verify this, but I'm sure most of what is going through Palantir is getting passed through Starlink as well. Again, I still hold, and I've had this idea for multiple years now, I still hold that there is a brand new net. It's similar to the internet, but it's a much different system. I don't necessarily know how to describe it, that is being built for the future, for the end time system that's going to run through Starlink. I think there's something about how they're connecting everything through these new satellites that they can take down the internet, and there will be something else there that they can use for whatever they want to. I don't think it's going to be a free thing that like we have now. I think it's absolutely going to be something for the future. I don't necessarily know how to describe it. I don't necessarily know how to explain it to you guys. I think you kind of understand what I'm trying to say on that. But so that's another element to all this that I wanted to put forward. So NVIDIA, another one of those big companies. They're the centralized $4.3 trillion company that's passing out deals with all the other companies. They're also working with Palantir as well. Sticking with Palantir, we have Palantir's Meritocracy Fellowship, free tech training as college alternative. So Palantir is opening up their own fellowship. This is similar to the Peter Thiel Fellowship. We've talked about the Peter Thiel Fellowship. A whole bunch of people came out of that. One of them is JD Vance. JD Vance came out of the Peter Thiel Fellowship system. And so this is Peter Thiel's, he's connected to the company. As we know, Alex Karp runs Palantir, but Peter Thiel's just as connected as Alex Karp. And this is their own fellowship. So they're going to be training up people to run Palantir systems, to run AI systems and engineer what's going on. This is Palantir's Meritocracy Fellowship recruits top high school graduates. So pulling them out of high school and basically saying, you don't need college, just come work for us. Offering free training in software engineering, AI, and data analytics as a college alternative, including humanities seminars and hands-on projects leading to full-time jobs. Amid debates on education's value, it challenges traditional degrees, potentially reshaping tech talent pipelines and pressuring universities to reform. If we jump down, it says the initiative, dubbed the Meritocracy Fellowship, seeks to recruit top-performing students directly from secondary education, offering them intensive training in software engineering, artificial intelligence, and data analytics without the burden of tuition fees or student debt. So what they're doing is they are enticing these college kids or these high school kids and saying, don't go to college. You're just going to get fed all this philosophy stuff. You're going to get fed all this stuff. There's no real world application. And then you're going to come out in debt and so on and so forth. I agree with them on that. I'm not going to argue against that. But they're basically saying, come work for us and help us build the best beast net that we can. That's kind of what they're saying on this. This is the fellowship, which began accepting applications earlier this year, includes a rigorous 4-week seminar on humanities and philosophy. So not only are you going there for engineering and so on and so forth, but they're going to give you their philosophy. They're going to give you their humanity perspective and philosophical drive to this situation. Now, I don't necessarily know what all they're going to be telling them, but again, I've done extensive research. I've talked about it. I've put a whole bunch in the free book on my website. Again, if you haven't read that thing, go read it. It gives you a whole bunch of information about the mystery religion, Revelation 17, Babylon, the technology, and so on and so forth. Go check that out. But the people behind this technology, the people behind companies like Palantir and so on and so forth, the top people who have influenced these programs, I know their philosophies. I know what they believe, and it is mystery religion driven. So if they are inserting that in any type of way, it's a humanized world. That's what they're looking for. And so if they're feeding that to these kids that are coming out of high school, and we all know that high school kids are dumb, they just are. I know that because I was one. They're just going to run with it because it's going to sound cool. That's the problem with that post-humanized philosophy and whatnot, is it sounds cool, and it's not cool at all. But it sounds like that's what they're going to be feeding to these kids in order to get them on board to build this thing. It says participants who excel are promised full-time positions at the company, potentially bypassing the need for a bachelor degree altogether. And down here, it says, as the program scales, Palantir plans to expand it nationally following the pilot. It's poised to influence other companies, or it's poised to influence how other companies view talent acquisition. Data from the fellowship's website indicate that over 22 high schoolers were selected in the initial cohort, undergoing indoctrination-style training. Undergoing indoctrination-style training in AI and software, as highlighted in a Futon report. Makes one wonder. Again, when you know the philosophy behind the people who run these companies, we know where Peter Thiel comes from. I talk a lot about Peter Thiel in that book. But also we know what Alex Karp believes, not necessarily on the religious aspect of things, but we understand what his philosophy regarding Palantir AI and technology. He just had another investors call a day or two ago. There's a whole bunch of stuff coming out regarding that, but he says we need more people to be fully on board with the meritocracy that we're building, and we need more people on board with being able to utilize AI for not only defensive but for violent action against those who aren't on board with everything. This is in line with the last investors call that I showed the video for that we talked about several months ago, when he was talking about we're here to disrupt and we're here to kill anybody who stands in our way. So we understand his philosophy on it. It says we're building this system. You're either on board, or if you're in the way, we're going to take you out. That's his philosophy on it, and it sounds like that's what he wants to instill in all the people that come on to his company as well. Meanwhile, Alex Karp talks about how they're not this big evil corporation that's trying to take everybody's data and control people and all that type of stuff, even though that's exactly what they're trying to do. So that's just the talking out of one side of the face, talking outside the other. So yeah, there's your Palantir update on that. Again, we haven't talked about them in a while, but again, they've been kind of quiet recently with everything. Let's see here. All right. Sticking with more technology, because there is a lot of stuff happening. It says Musk takes on Wikipedia with AI-generated Grokpedia. What to know? So I mentioned this a couple podcasts ago. Figured now's a good time to talk about it. It says Elon Musk on Monday night unveiled Grokpedia, an online encyclopedia built entirely using AI-generated articles designed to take on Wikipedia, which Musk and his allies have claimed is biased and woke. It says here, at launch, Grokpedia has over 885,000 articles compared to Wikipedia's 7 million. But while the crowdsourced online encyclopedia uses human authors and editors, Musk's alternative is entirely composed of articles generated and fact-checked by xAI's Grok. Grokpedia also does not allow its users to make any edits, but Musk said users will be able to ask Grok to add, modify, delete articles, and it will either take the action or tell you it won't and why. There's really no difference between these. And I've taken the stance forever, don't get your information from Wikipedia. They just don't do it. You never know what's true and what's not on there, because anybody can go on there and add and edit and delete and change and rearrange whatever they want to do. Anybody can go on there. It's just a whole bunch of people that are just adding information on there, whether it's true or not. And I know there's a lot of people that basically do all their research via Wikipedia, which is not smart, in my opinion. Some prophecy podcasters do that too. They base everything off of Wikipedia. Careful about that. But Grok AI is no different, because the problem is Grok AI, what it does is it goes and scrapes information off of the internet, including Wikipedia. I've seen it countless times. These AI chatbots, when you ask them something for information, and it comes up with a list of where they got the information from, there's usually Wikipedia listed among them. And the problem, and I think this is actually even worse, is when it comes to what's going on with this AI Grok thing, the Grokpedia and everything like that, for people that's the end all be all source, fact checker that they have. I see it all the time on social media where somebody will say one thing, they'll put it up there and say, this is what's going on. And then somebody will rebut what that person has put out there, and they'll just copy and paste something from a chat bot. Well, the problem is most of the time, And I've done this every time not every time, but I've done it a lot in the past where when I see something like that, if somebody just copy and pasting something from a chatbot, I'll go and fact check the chatbot and it's wrong. It's just wrong. And it only takes me 2 minutes to do it. But people are being trained. They're more inclined to believe what the chatbot says without looking it up, without verifying anything, and disagree with the other person who may or may not be right, but still, in a lot of these cases, the person who posted the first thing was actually correct on the matter. But people are more inclined to believe what the chatbot says than what an actual human being says. And this is society being trained now. It's happening more and more and more. It's constant now, but it's more and more and more. I've seen it so many times where we have people out there with Substacks and stuff like that are writing these huge, in-depth, informative articles about something like that, and half of it is literally them just copying and pasting from AI. They're not going and looking and researching, critical thinking, following trails, verifying things. They're not doing any of the work that is required to do those deep dive things. What they're doing is, I want to look and sound smart. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go and ask the chatbot to give me all this information that makes me look and sound smart. And so we have a whole bunch of people that are living in this intelligent age that aren't intelligent at all. They're just giving off the appearance that they are, and they're basing everything off of AI. Now, the problem is nobody wants to go and verify that information. Nobody wants to check to make sure that it's true, because they just go with, well, it sounds smart. It sounds good. So I'll just believe it. And then they copy and paste what they got from that, and they pass it on. And then without people realizing it, the more and more that information spreads all across various different websites and whatnot, that same AI chatbot that gave out the information at the very beginning is scraping all that information that comes from itself. And now you have a closed loop, going back to the closed loop situation. Now you have a closed loop of information that's all wrong, but it just continues to get passed forward to everybody based upon the AI. And so we've had, there's a lot of people like that who, I don't know if anybody's gotten into debates and whatnot with some people, and their idea of countering your point on something is to give, how do I want to say this, is to give a response grounded solely in their own opinions. Has anybody seen that before? I'll give you one of those things. It's been an absolute nightmare in my email and my comments since I posted the clip video of the whole Babylon thing. Happens every time I knew it was coming. It's not fun. Most of the arguments and I will say most of the arguments that I get from people are telling me that I'm wrong, even though all I'm doing is just reading what scripture says, but they're telling me I'm wrong. And they're basing it solely off of their opinion of the here and now of today, and the how they know that the merchants will react when the city's on fire. And so they're telling me I'm wrong, basing it solely off of, well, we live in the here and now. It's not possible for God to rebuild Babylon, because we know the rapture is right around the corner, and we know that it would take too long for the city to actually come alive and to be a giant trade situation. So we know that that's how it is. And my first response is we don't know any of that. You're basing everything off of the here and now. You're taking power away from God. You're basically saying that the timeline that you have created in your own mind is actually more valid than the timeline that God is in control of right now. And so everything that you're basing your argument off of is your own opinion. It's not based on facts. We have no idea. And my response to that is well, it's one of those things where So you're telling me that after the rapture and into the day of the Lord, and we know all the chaos that's going to be happening during that period of time, you're going to tell me that the entire world is going to be functioning exactly as it is right now? Because that's how you're basing your argument off of. You're telling me that I'm wrong because I'm just reading what the scripture is, because you're going off of the here and now. Nobody is basing it off of fact. Nobody is basing it off of a true foundation. It's all based upon opinions. That is what AI does. That is what artificial intelligence chatbot does. It doesn't base it off of fact. It doesn't base it off of a foundation. It bases it off of scraping up opinions and forming a blob of something together based upon opinions. And so that is exactly what Grokpedia is. That's what Wikipedia is. Wikipedia is a whole bunch of information based upon opinions. Now, is there some real stuff in there? Yeah, but the problem is when you have something that's part real and then part opinion, you can't trust it because you don't know what's real and what's opinion. And a lot of people don't even go and verify this stuff. They don't check. They don't want to do any of their own research, even though sometimes it only takes a minute or two to actually go and do it. They just want to go the easy route. And this is another situation of the easy route. And now everybody's going to be switching over to Grokpedia because it's the new hip thing. And we got a serious problem happening here. Now, I know that was a long thing on something about that, but I just wanted to make sure that we're on board with that. Is we can't base things upon our own opinions. We need to make sure that we're trying to drive to the fact. And if we get to the point where we can't find the fact, we can't verify the claims, we can't vet the information, we can't do these types of things, then we don't need to stand on a hill and die for it. And that's very important. That's just something that, especially in today's day and age, we need to really make sure that we don't fall into that trap. This says several articles on Grokpedia include a disclaimer at the bottom, which reads, "The content is adapted from Wikipedia, licensed under Creative Commons Attribution Share Alike 4.0 license. Wikipedia's website already has an entry on Grokpedia, which notes that many articles are derived from Wikipedia articles, which some articles observed to be copied nearly verbatim. Musk said that he is aware of Grokpedia using Wikipedia articles and added, "We should have this fixed by the end of the year." What that means, don't know. Does that mean he's going to program the AI to not draw from Wikipedia? Maybe, but the problem is the AI is still scraping stuff from bad websites, false websites, biased websites, and other Substack articles that are researched by Wikipedia. Many of the articles and stuff that the AI scrapes up, they get their information from Wikipedia. So while it may not directly pull from Wikipedia, it's still going to be getting information from Wikipedia, and that's a problem again. Last month, Musk announced plans to build Grokpedia, claiming that it will be a massive improvement over Wikipedia and necessary step towards the XAI goal of understanding the universe. Again, that's part of that mystery religion philosophy that I was talking about. Wikipedia is hopelessly biased. An army of left-wing activists maintain the BIOS and fight reasonable corrections. The ex-owner then boosted posts from Wikipedia's critics, accusing it of having left-wing bias, and labeled the crowdsourced platform Wokepedia. And that's true, but the problem is it's also biased in other ways, and it's written by biased people. The same biased people who write their own information on their own websites that Grok is going to be pulling from anyways. So with all that in mind, the biggest thing I can say is don't get your information from Wikipedia. Don't use AI chatbots to get information, and verify and fact check your own stuff. Just don't take people's word for it. That includes myself. Just go and look it up yourself. Be active in your own walk. All right. Continuing on, Russia moves to mandate state biometric ID for online age verification. By merging digital ID with moral policing, Russia edges closer to an internet where every click carries a name. But But I continue to get told by so many people that Russia isn't part of the globalist agenda. They're standing against it. Even though they're building their own CBDCs, they're building their own digital IDs, they're now starting to do biometric ID for online verification, and they're doing all these types of things. No, they're not a part of the globalists. They're against the globalists, just like Trump is, just like China is. They're against the globalist agenda, even though everything that they're doing is identical to the globalist agenda. And they're in lockstep with every other country around the world. That's why I just can't get on board with those who continue to talk about the geopolitical situation like that's true. Like they actually think the United States is at war with China and Russia and China and Trump hate the globalist agenda, even though everything that they're doing is in lockstep with the globalist agenda. You have to be severely blind or have an agenda to not see that. But yet everybody walks around like they're different. Doesn't make any sense. I digress. Russian lawmakers are moving forward with a proposal that would make the country's biometric and e-government systems the mandatory gatekeepers for online age verification. The plan, discussed on October 28th, is being marketed as a child protection initiative. Where have we heard that before? Where have we heard that before? It's identical to every other online age verification policy that's being put forth around the world. It's all about protecting the children, and Russia's doing the exact same thing. They're doing it in the United States, they're doing it in the UK, they're doing it in Australia, they're doing it everywhere. And it all has to do with protecting kids. And guess what? Russia's doing the exact same thing for the exact same system that they're implementing everywhere else. According to Tech Radar, one official included pornography, violent or profane videos, and even propaganda of antisocial behavior in the list of restricted content. Well, that knocks out all of social media altogether. The main part of the proposal will use the Goslugi digital services portal, which already functions as Russia's main interface for state verification. This system connects directly to the Unified System of Identification and Authentication, ISA, and the National Unified Biometric Systems, UBS, both of which are controlled by the government. In effect, the state would become the universal intermediary between citizens and the internet. That's basically saying if you want to access the internet, you have to go to the government and say, "Daddy, can I please go online?" That's basically what they're saying. Since 2012, when Russia began constructing its online censorship framework under the pretext of protecting minors, each new regulation has chipped away at personal privacy while expanding government visibility in everyday digital life. It goes on to say every Russian internet user will lose the ability to be anonymous within 3 years, 5 at most. This vision aligns with another state project approved in June, the development of a national super app integrating digital ID, government services, and payment systems that would then let users confirm one's age to a supermarket cashier. Again, we've seen this in Europe. We're starting to see this in the United States. We're starting to see it in Australia. We're already seeing it in China. We're seeing it in Korea. We're seeing it in Japan. We're seeing it even Iran. Saudi Arabia is doing the same thing. Israel's doing the same thing. All the countries are doing the exact same thing. It says it would build a permanent record linking verified identities to private online behavior, giving the state sweeping insight into personal consumption habits. Again, feeding the data, feeding your personal or your social profile, and allowing them to continue to build a full-on tracking system for you and building your digital twin on top of it. Again, I talked about this several years ago. I think I still have the playlist on my YouTube channel, Tearing Down the Curtain. And I showed that both Russia and China, Putin and Xi, are friends with the whole globalist agenda. People don't realize that it's Russia's digital engineering team that built the very core foundation of the center of the Fourth Industrial Revolution. If people don't know what the center of the fourth industrial revolution is, it is the digital arm, digital ID, cyber polygon, all that stuff, blockchain, everything like that. It's the entire digital arm of the fourth industrial revolution. Yes, the very same one that Klaus Schwab has talked about at the WEF. Russia was the one who built that, the foundation for it. They laid the concrete. They got 1.0 up and off the ground for them, which means Russia's a part of this whole thing. And then we've talked about as well, this was back in September, we went over the fact that China's entire surveillance system, entire tracking biometric digital ID system is funded and created by both the WEF and the main tech companies that we've already talked about. Part of the Golden Shield, which is connected to Chinese Great Firewall. Again, I've got another video on that. Go check it out, where Larry Ellison is going to be the United States Great Firewall. What is the Great Firewall? It's literally the entire tracking and surveillance system in China. And Larry Ellison is going to do the same thing here. Why? Because the technology is already here, because those companies that built the technology are already using it in China. It's all one giant web of technology that's being spun around us, but yet we continue to get told the geopolitical narrative through the news, through gullible podcasters and so on and so forth, that United States, Trump hates the globalists and he's at war with China and Russia, even though China and Russia are also against the globalists and they're trying to take down the United States and hurdy-dirty. And it's like, if you just go down to the brass tacks, go down to the studs of everything, you realize that they're all friends behind the curtain, laughing it up, drinking martinis, eating cocktail weenies. Everything makes a whole lot more sense when we understand that, as opposed to just going along with the narrative that we continue to get fed. Then we also have this one. This is quite important, actually. I haven't seen much coming out about it. It says Visa launches biometric digital identity initiative for payments. A new layer of trust is being built into every swipe and click, where identity itself becomes the currency of security. It says biometric verification is becoming a defining feature of how payments are made as financial institutions work to link identity directly to every transaction. Reflecting that trend, Visa has partnered with Proof, a digital identity platform. The collaboration merges Proof's identity technology with Visa's global network, aiming to bring the same level of trust to online commerce that EMV chips provided for physical cards. You know, the chips in your debit cards, your credit cards, and stuff like that. This is the new version of that that's now going to have your biometric digital ID imprinted into it. Says we're connecting Visa's global network and payment innovations with Proof's platform to fundamentally transform how identity is used in all types of transactions. Proof's system verifies users by combining biometrics, cryptographic signatures, and AI-driven fraud detection before a payment is processed. So basically, you're going to be attached. You're already attached now, but this is going to be more in-depth, centralized attachment of literally your biometrics and everything about you attached to your payments. There is no hiding from your payments any longer. Its certified product acts as a reusable identity credential, described as like the EMV chip for digital identity. Certify can stop deepfakes, impersonation, and account takeovers. A broader movement towards biometric linked payment is a growing technological and social development. Financial institutions, technology firms, and governments are aligning around the idea that being anonymous online is an obstacle to security and compliance. They don't want you to be anonymous. That's why we see so much of the movement with policies and rollouts of different technologies around the world when it comes to online age verification, biometric ID, digital ID, and everything like that. It all has to do with aligning it lockstep to build the one system, basing it off of one digital biometric system. The idea driving this change is that verified digital identities can reduce fraud, prevent money laundering, and make global commerce more efficient. Interesting. Make global commerce more efficient. You want to buy and sell, if you want to participate in society, right? This change reaches beyond banking. Biometric and digital ID systems are being connected to healthcare, access, air travel, and social media verification in some regions. Together, these initiatives are creating a global framework where each interaction, such as purchasing goods, transferring funds, or signing in, can be permanently linked to a verified identity. We're getting a lot of foreshadows to what we know this one world system is going to look like in the end times. Getting a lot of foreshadows. Now, again, it's one of those situations where a lot of people will take this and run with it and go, the mark of the beast is here. Oh no, even though I said that the Koof shot was already the mark of the beast, I actually mean this one. When in reality, what we're watching again is just a foreshadow. A lot can change, a lot can happen between now and that midpoint of the 70th week. And we need to make sure that we realize that. Like I said earlier, we're not basing opinions off of the here and now. We're not circular argument basing our opinion upon our opinion, because we don't know what that's going to look like in the future. We don't know. This entire thing could be blown up and something else introduced at that point. It's possible. Can't put it past it. But as of right now, we are definitely seeing a foreshadow of them attempting to build that one world global framework for a economic and commerce system, which is described in Revelation. Again, we don't know if this is going to play a part in that. Again, a lot can change between now and then, but we are certainly seeing the vision that they have for it. And that's important. All right. We've got this as well. Skydio drones, initially tested in Gaza, now operate across U.S. cities. Anybody else just get a nice tingling feeling rolling up your spine? Yeah. California drone company, whose technology aided Israel's devastating assault on Gaza, is now helping police departments across the United States surveil protesters, students, and ordinary Americans, automatically uploading millions of images to centralized evidence databases. Yikes. Following the events of October 7th, Skydio, a previously lesser-known name in military technology, dispatched over 100 reconnaissance drones to the Israeli military to assist in operations during the siege of Gaza. The company's leadership has indicated that more shipments are planned, with Skydio maintaining a presence in Israel through an office and a partnership with Defense Sync, a military drone contractor working with the IDF. The exact number of U.S. manufactured drones used in Israeli combat efforts remains undisclosed. These AI-driven quadcopters, having been tested in conflict zones, are now widely employed by law enforcement across major U.S. cities. Skydio drones are deployed daily across America, surveilling protests from Boston to Chicago, and in cities like Philadelphia, San Diego, Cleveland, and Jacksonville. The company has secured contracts with 800 agencies, a number that has more than doubled since last year. In New York City, the NYPD proudly announced deploying Skydio drones over 20,000 times in under a year, averaging 55 deployments per day. And this is from September 23, 2024, or 2000. This is from September 23rd, 2024. There we go. This does show that NYPD received permission from the FAA to utilize this technology. And then Philadelphia police have used Skydio drones for protest monitoring. Yale University has utilized them to observe student protests related to Israeli actions in Palestine. And the No Kings protests in New York received particular attention with several drone deployments recorded. Remember when I mentioned the No Kings thing that just happened recently? I said it's not what people think it is. What they're doing is they're gathering data and they're testing technology. That's exactly what I was talking about. It had nothing to do with people thought it was, because the narrative that we were receiving on the right was George Soros was going to start funding riots. We heard it all over the place. The message that we received on the left was we're going to utilize protests to take down this administration and so on and so forth. That's not what it was about either. This is what it was about. Federal agencies are now investing in Skydio technology. ICE, let me say it again. ICE recently acquired the X10D model, which employs AI for autonomous target tracking, and the U.S. Customs and Border Protection has purchased 33 similar units. It's not being used for immigration. It's being used on us. It's exactly what it's for. Just wait. This is going to only start expanding further. Cincinnati, for instance, expects that drones will soon respond to 90% of police callouts before officers arrive on the scene. Skydio's docking stations are now strategically placed throughout cities, enabling drones to launch, land, and recharge autonomously. That's another aspect of this that's important to realize is they have their own hubs all around cities now. It's not one of those things where, back in the day, if you guys remember, of course, I wasn't alive then, but I've seen plenty of TV shows and movies and stuff like that. Top Cat comes to mind, where they have the police call boxes, because they didn't have like the radios and the police cars and stuff back in the day. The street cops who walked and stuff like that would go up to the call boxes, the blue call boxes, and they can get the police operator and stuff on the line. It's similar to that now, except with drone stations. They have these things planted all over cities that can be deployed and used in certain locations, because these things are autonomous. You don't actually need somebody to fly it. It'll just go, AI driven. And that's what we have now. It says, unlike traditional drones, Skydio's UAVs do not require human pilots and can operate in GPS denied urban settings. They utilize NVIDIA chips. NVIDIA again. Remember, NVIDIA is connected to Microsoft, Palantir, OpenAI, Anthropic. You just keep going. There's that web again. There's that web, the open in a closed loop. They utilize NVIDIA chips for AI navigation, 3D mapping, and facial recognition, streaming real-time footage directly to the Axon. We talked about Axon not too long ago. Digital evidence system. Axon, renowned for its tasers and law enforcement gear, along with its body cams and its AI police report secretaries and some other connections as well. Axon, renowned for its tasers and law enforcement gear, is a major investor in Skydio and maintains strong ties with the Israeli military. That's another aspect we talked about. That includes Mark Andreessen and Ben Horowitz, as well as Next 47, which is headed by ex-IDF cyber agent Moshe Zilberstein. Axon and Hercules Capital as well. These are all investors in these bots, these drones. In Atlanta, Skydio was chosen to outfit drone infrastructures for the city's controversial new Cop City. Miami surveilling spring breakers, and Detroit spending $300,000 on Skydio units. As U.S. police and security agencies race to adopt these battle-tested surveillance platforms, the fusion of American policing and Israeli military tech, developed in and field-tested upon the people of Gaza, raises new and alarming questions about civil liberties, protest rights, and the global export of occupation technology. Again, anybody feeling warm and fuzzy? I've seen various aspects. Now, I don't know if Skydio makes these. I haven't seen them. But I know that there's other companies out there that make tiny ones that are about the size of a hummingbird that can explode on impact. I have seen ones that have the ability to launch rubber bullets. I've seen ones that have the ability to launch tasers. I've seen these drones that have these abilities to do things like that. How long until these drones are equipped with those things. You can see these drones right here. They've got bombs on them. How long until we start seeing drones just all over our cities, flying around, that have the ability to do those types of things, to knock us out, to disperse us, to tase us, possibly to kill us? Seriously, how long? When we look at what's going on, again, we know that they've been testing those drones in Ukraine for years now. They've been testing these things over there. They've been testing them over in Gaza. They've been testing them over in the Middle East as well. A lot of these drones, again, are connected to places like Palantir and so on. So that's kind of important as well. We also have this. MPs vote to replace France's property wealth tax with unproductive wealth levy. I know I got somebody, they email me every once in a while from France. So if you're watching right now, what's up? Good to see you guys. But yeah, so it says vote to replace France's property wealth tax with unproductive wealth levy. France's proposed unproductive wealth tax, part of the ongoing 2026 budget talks, would cover such assets such as art, jewelry, and some assurance policies. If we jump down, where's it at? Right here. So this is a tax on these things. It says wealth tax would no longer apply just to real estate, but also to other so-called unproductive assets such as jewelry, art, luxury vehicles, yachts, aircraft, precious metals, digital currency, and some forms of assurance policies that are not tied to productive investment. Basically, what France is trying to do is if you hold any of those valuable assets, jewelry, art, vehicles, precious metals like gold and silver, or digital currencies, and you are not utilizing them to invest into the country's economy, you will get taxed for just having them. Because you're not using them to actively participate in the economy. You may be saving up, you may be holding on to it for sentimental reasons or trying to pass it down to through family or whatever. It doesn't matter. If you have it, they're going to tax you about it. And it says France is replacing its existing real estate tax, wealth tax, with a broader tax on unproductive wealth. The taxable base now includes assets that were previously exempted, such as artworks, precious metals, yachts, and cryptocurrencies. Cryptocurrency are being labeled unproductive for the purposes of this tax. Remember when you were being sold that cryptocurrency was decentralized and was being used in order to break away from the fiat banking system? I remember that was the thing that was getting sold when it was trying to get a whole bunch of people involved. As France's lower house called the Assemblée Nationale to approve a controversial amendment. This amendment would classify certain holdings, including cryptocurrencies, as unproductive wealth. This would subject them to a newly designed tax. This new move was brought up during budget negotiations during 2026 and also for the growing pressure to enhance tax revenues. Legislators are targeting assets they believed to not contribute or to be productive investment. Under this new legislation, assets that were previously not included, such as works of art, gold, yachts, luxury vehicles, and digital assets, including cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin, by the way, will now be included. One key change to note is that under the wealth tax, not only non-residential property or second homes were taxed. Meanwhile, this new tax allows one residential property per household to be excluded. The amendment calls out digital assets as unproductive wealth, which means they're now part of what gets taxed. So if you're holding onto a pile of Bitcoin or other crypto without putting it to work on a business or lending it out, France plans to tax you under this new rule. Just more and more, just grab as much of the peasants' wealth as they possibly can and feed it up to the rich. It's as corrupt as can be. Then we have this. Donors to Trump White House ballroom have $278 billion in federal contracts. The list contains heavyweights in the tech, financial, and defense sectors, including Google, Comcast, and Lockheed Martin. This should not surprise us the least, because this entire administration is corrupt as they come, and as long as you can benefit them personally, they will strike deals with you, no matter how illegal or unconstitutionally. Oh, yeah. Many publicly identified donors to Trump's White House ballroom have high-stakes business before the administration, ranging from billions in contracts to federal investigations of their companies. Again, we've gone over a countless number of these. We saw multiple people get off the hook because they employed the brother as their lawyer of Pam Bondi. People that were guilty as could be, but their cases were dropped because it was Pam Bondi's brother. We've seen countless people get pardoned. We just talked about the Binance dude getting pardoned by Trump, and we know that had to do with the cryptocurrency wealth of World Liberty Financial with the Trump family, and we know that was part of the deal with the UAE regarding the NVIDIA chips for the cryptocurrency and stuff like that. It's just time after time after time. If you benefit Trump's family personally, or you hire one of his friends, then they'll get you off. This is more than half of the companies that donated to the Ballroom Project are facing or have recently faced federal enforcement actions tied to alleged wrongdoing, ranging from engaging in unfair labor practices to deceiving consumers. I mean, it just keeps on going and going. The analysis focused on more than 36 corporate and individual donors the Trump administration has disclosed and found that the group has received $279 billion in government contracts over the last 5 years and spent $1.6 billion in political contributions and lobbying fees during that time. The list contains heavyweights in the tech, financial, and defense sectors, including Google, Comcast, and Lockheed Martin. Basically, what's going on is these companies and these individuals that are donating to Trump's ballroom, which again, I believe has to do with the operational command center underneath, not actually the ballroom itself. But we know the entire thing is unconstitutional as with what they're doing anyways. But still, all the people that are donating to this thing are people who either have contracts with the government and want to be able to get more in the future. So you grease a few palms in order to get more contracts in the future. Or they're people who are under investigation for serious problems, and they know if they donate, there's a chance that they could get off scot-free. Yeah. Now, just remember, I just want to remind you, because this is what the pastors and the prophecy teachers have been telling us for years now. If it's a Democrat in office and they do this, it's bad. But if it's Trump, it's okay. That's what we continue to get told. So it's only them. It's only bad if it's them. It's not bad if it's us. They have massive interests before the federal government, and they hope to undoubtedly curry favor with and receive favorable treatment from the Trump administration. 14 of the 24 publicly named corporate donors face federal enforcement actions or have such actions suspended by Trump administration officials since the start of his second term. As we know, there was a list that showed who was donating. We don't know how much each one was donating, but there's a list of who was donating. But they said that there was other donors who wanted to remain anonymous. I'd really like to know who that is. All right. On to the last section of things. What's going on up there? What is going on? Somebody spamming stuff. Yeah. I don't understand why people have to spam things. Oh, Olivia Angel. No, I took care of that this morning. I'm all emptied out. I had a good bowel movement this morning. So no, I'm not full of it. I'm not full of that. So thank you for asking though. I appreciate that you care for my health and well-being and for the flow of my bowel movements. I appreciate that. All right, let's keep going. It says Department of Transportation might be forced to shut down some airspace next week, according to Duffy. You will see mass chaos, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy said. So it says the Department of Transportation might be forced to shut down the airspace in certain parts of the country if the government shutdown continues into next week. So Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy said on Tuesday. Nearly 50% of all major traffic air controller facilities face staffing shortages, according to the Federal Aviation Administration. Air traffic controllers are required to work without pay or the duration of the shutdown. About 13,000 air traffic controllers are currently working without pay, according to the FAA. On Friday, the agency said that 80% of New York area staff had called out. Yeah, I think that's all I wanted to point out on that. Yeah, so basically what we're doing is we're getting a warning here that says if the government shutdown, which I don't know if it was today or tomorrow, one of these days, we'll have the longest government shutdown in history. Some of the projection groups are saying that it's going to last until at least December, with chances of it extending further. So take that with what you will. But what we're getting told here is if this continues on, be looking for flights to stop. Be looking for certain regions, their flight travel to be shut down. Be looking for major delays at airports for traveling and whatnot. We've already heard, I don't know if you guys have been paying attention. I haven't talked any about it, but I don't know if you guys have heard. There's been multiple times the past few weeks with full sections of airports shutting down because they don't have the staff for it, there's been reports saying entire airports have shut down. That's not true. Just certain parts of airports shutting down, anywhere from 50 to 100 flights out of an airport and so on, and all that. So, and has to do with staffing shortages and whatnot. And now we're being told that that's going to get worse. And as we already know that government shutdown is going to continue through next week. Mike Johnson already announced to the House, don't come in next week. So we already know that it's going to be at least another week until things start rolling on that. If they so choose to do it. Again, I'm still under the belief that this may be shut down for good. I think there's a chance for that because of what they're moving to do. With this, though, I think that's the case. They don't want people moving around. They want people staying stationary. It makes it easier for them if people are staying stationary. And so by restricting travel, especially long distance travel, it helps their job. So this could be the next phase that they're getting ready to introduce with this whole shutdown situation. Now, again, things could change, but I'm just saying it sure seems like the plan is just shut it down and keep it down. Because remember, I already showed the clip a week or two ago of Trump saying, after the big, beautiful bill, we don't need Congress anymore. We're good. We don't need them for 4 years. He said that. We don't need them for the next 4 years. We got everything done. That's why we wanted it all in the bill itself. So we'll see if that's true. Then we have this. This is all types of confusing with what's been going on. Trump administration will partially fund SNAP, but it could take months. Says the Trump administration has committed to partially funding the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program with a $4.65 billion payment, but using emergency funds to pay for SNAP benefits could take a few weeks to up to several months, a top USD official told a federal judge in a sworn court filing. So if you guys don't know, judge came out and said, you must pay at least partial SNAP. That's what the judge came out and said. I think that's all on that. Yeah. Came out and said, you must pay at least partial of the food stamp stuff. And the administration came out and said, fine, we'll pay part of it. That's right here, the $4.65 billion. It usually is about $8 billion for SNAP. And so we had that, and everybody's like, oh, yeah, okay, that's something. Well, today, Trump came out on his Truth Social and said that we're not paying anything until the Democrats, of course, reopen the government. There's the political theater speech. And then a couple hours after that, Carolyn Leavitt came out for the press stuff, and she was asked multiple times by reporters saying, well, you told us that you're going to go with what the judge ordered you to do, but yet Trump is saying that he's not going to do it. What are you going to do? And Carolyn Levitt said, we are going to abide by what the judge said, but it just may be delayed. What does that mean? What's going to be delayed? The payment's going to be delayed? Or are you going to be delayed in acting upon what the judge has told you to do? We don't necessarily know what's going on. So this is all up in the air. People really don't really know what's going on right now in regards to this. So I thought I'd let you know that there may or may not be a partial funding of SNAP. That's all I can tell you, because everybody's saying one thing and talking out of the other side, and nobody really knows what's going on here. So I just thought I'd let you guys know on that. Sticking with the payment situation, this is, are military members getting paid? Paychecks unlikely by November 15th if government shutdowns continue. This is, military members who are currently active will start going without pay by mid-November if the government shutdown continues and lawmakers fail to come to an agreement, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said. Bessent said that although funds are drying up, there should be enough to pay troops on Friday, October 31st. By mid-November, however, military members likely to go without a paycheck if the shutdown continues. Now, there's some interesting stuff when it comes to this situation, because if they don't pay the military by the 15th, who all knows how that's going to work. You're probably going to have a lot of angry military dudes, to say the least. But the aspect that I've been looking into that I can't find a straight answer on, I can't find a straight answer on this. But I just want to let you guys know anyways, because it's a possibility. We know that with the passing of the bill that they did, it added the extreme $1 trillion military budget, which is exponentially bigger than we've ever had. From what I've gathered, there's a possible clause in that says if there's some disruption of something, doesn't necessarily say government shutdown, but if there's some disruption that makes it so things can't function properly, the president can tap into that defense budget on his own and start doling out stuff for not only military paychecks, but also for other contracts and so on and so forth. But it would require the Insurrection Act to make it happen. So, again, I can't find anything with a straight answer on this. I don't know if I don't have the right sources or I'm just not smart enough. I don't know. But I'm seeing that is a possibility. So we've heard them talk. Trump has said it multiple times. Stephen Miller has said it multiple times. Pam Bondi has said it. Kristi Noem has said it, that they may deploy the Insurrection Act if they need to. And so that would, according to this information, kick in the ability to start paying the military through that defense budget without going through the usual checks that they would need to. Allow them to dole out contracts, but then that would also give them the ability to start bringing in more than the National Guard. That would be walking military, Army, and Marines on the streets of the country, which Trump also said just recently during his Japan trip that he may end up doing if he needs to. So is there a possibility that they are prepping all of this for the Insurrection Act? It's possible. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's true. Again, I can't necessarily verify that information, but I do want to just make sure you guys are aware, just in case, so you're not caught off guard. That's the main reason why I'm telling you that. So November 15th. Keep an eye on November 15th. We'll see what happens. A lot of things moving. A lot of things moving around on this. We also have this. It says Hegseth restricts military officials from talking to Congress without prior approval. The topics include Trump's Golden Dome shield and alleged drug boat strikes. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth is mandating that personnel can no longer engage lawmakers or their staff about most major issues confronting the U.S. military without prior approval. A list that includes recent military strikes in the Caribbean, how the Pentagon buys weapons, and the construction of a U.S. missile shield. The problem is that is illegal as all get out because 10 U.S. Code 1035, protected communications. Restricting communications with members of Congress and the Interior General prohibited. No person may restrict a member of the armed forces in communicating with a member of Congress or an inspector general. It is entirely illegal. You can't do this. You can't do this. This is a prohibition of retaliatory personal attacks. No person may take or threaten to take an unfavorable personnel action or withhold or threaten to withhold a favorable personal action as a reprisal against a member of the armed forces for making or preparing or being perceived as making or preparing a communication to a member of Congress or an inspector general. That subsection may not be restricted. So literally, this order is completely illegal. Add it to the laundry list of illegal and unconstitutional actions that they've done, including the drug boat strikes, which how many laws have been broken with that? We've lost count. But this is entirely illegal. But yet they don't care. Remember, this is the administration of transparency. This is the administration of restoring the country and the Constitution and so on and so forth. They just need to burn all of that and wipe themselves with it first, apparently. Under Hegseth's new mandate, staff from various military services and agencies were told that they must coordinate first with Hegseth's Central Legislative Office. The list of restricted topics reviewed by ABC News includes acquisition reform, spectrum, critical munitions, budget and reconciliation spending plans, critical minerals, foreign military sales, attempted lethal force on military installations, and the national defense strategy. This dude says right here, it says, we are proud of the new rules have put a large barrier between the military and Congress. You don't say. They're planning something. They're planning something. What that is, I don't know. But they're planning something. Republican lawmakers lash out at Pentagon for keeping them in the dark. It says Republican and Democratic lawmakers slammed the Pentagon on Tuesday for not briefing them on national security issues. It says Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth has worked to control the flow of information about the world's most powerful military and told Pentagon staff that they must obtain permission before interacting with members of Congress. Illegal. During the more than 2-hour-long hearing of the Senate Armed Services Committee, lawmakers said senior Pentagon officials were unresponsive to questions and concerns from Congress. Man, I can't even get a response, and we're on your team, Sullivan said, who's Senator Dan Sullivan, adding that it was tougher to get a response from Colby than it was to speak with Hegseth or even Trump. This is talking about Elbridge Colby, who is a top official at the Pentagon. It says Colby's team, known as the Office of the Undersecretary of Defense for Policy, is one of the most powerful parts of the Pentagon, responsible for making policy recommendations to Hegseth. Democratic Senator Jackie Rosen said that the Pentagon has made little effort to reach out to lawmakers to discuss its national defense strategy. A document officials say is expected to be published soon and will lay out the department's priorities. We see no sense of urgency to relate to Congress. We see no sense of urgency to connect with Congress, Rosen said. The thing is according to the Trump administration, they're done with Congress. So why would they need to talk to him? Why would they need to do any of that stuff? They're good for the next 4 years. That's what Trump said. No, what they're doing is they're hiding things. They are planning things, and they've done things that are illegal as it is, and so they're doing everything that they can to cover it up. I also have an update on the recent Pentagon press policy. We have a new person that has signed the Pentagon press policy. If you guys don't know, the Pentagon press policy is a brand new policy that Hegseth has instituted, basically saying that you must, basically everything that all the information that you gather must be approved by the Pentagon and handed directly to you. So it's a propaganda thing. It's no longer press. Person who just signed is none other than Laura Loomer. Yes, that Laura Loomer that has signed, who's already been a propaganda pusher to begin with. But yeah, she joins One American News, the Epoch Times, and the Federalist, Real America's Voice, Lindell TV, Gateway Pundit, Washington Reporter, Jack Posobiec, National Port, Red State, Post Millennial, Daily Signal, Timcast, TP, USA Frontlines, InfoWars. She is now signing on as well. Just stay away from Laura Loomer. My word, if you're getting any information from her, you are lost. Just like personally, I think if you're getting any information from places like Gateway Pundit and TP USA and Timcast, you're just as lost to begin with anyways. All right. And here's the bigum. Trump administration planning to send U.S. troops to Mexico to combat cartels. Seems they're expanding the whole reach of the South America region. It says Donald Trump's administration is creating detailed plans to send U.S. troops and intelligence officers into Mexico. U.S. troops and intelligence officers into Mexico. It's not a war, though. We don't need to get congressional approval to declare war, though. That's what we keep getting told. Even though that window to declare war because of all the bombs that they've been dropping on the boats, we're past that window, so it's all illegal and unconstitutional, and they're not doing anything. So we're getting talk of actually sending U.S. troops into Mexico. Trump administration is committed to utilizing an all-of-government approach to address the threats cartels pose to American citizens, a senior Trump administration official told NBC in response to the report. Newsweek reached out to the Pentagon and White House to comment via email Monday morning. The Department of State deferred to the Department of Defense. This is, the report comes after weeks of escalating attacks on the alleged drug smugglers out of Venezuela in the Caribbean Sea and the Pacific Ocean, killing multiple suspects the Trump administration has said are known cartel and criminal gang members, none of which still to this day has been verified. Members of Congress have raised concerns about a potential move to land-based operations, which could be seen as the White House carrying out an act of war, but they don't care. The officials who spoke with NBC News said that early training, the officials who spoke with NBC News said that early training was underway to send troops and intelligence officers into Mexico as part of a wider operation to tackle the drug trade. Let me tell you right here, right now, up front, this has nothing to do with drugs. This has nothing to do with drugs. The stuff with Venezuela has nothing to do with drugs. This has nothing to do with drugs. None of it has anything to do with drugs. Just like the war on drugs when it first began decades ago had nothing to do with drugs. It's just the narrative that they want to push. That's all it is. And I will say, and I'm not talking about it because I'm waiting and watching and just gathering what I can before I say anything, if I say anything at all. But there's the whole announcement where Trump said that he's going to go guns a-blazing into Nigeria to protect the Christians there. I don't think that's what it's about at all. I'll just be honest. I don't think it has anything to do with protecting the Christians. I think there's a lot more to that whole situation than what we're being told, if anything was to happen regarding that. Now, again, I'm waiting before I even go any deeper on it because I just want to see. I've gathered some information that's pretty interesting because about the same time that Trump said that, a mega oil investor said that they were going to double and triple oil production in the Nigerian region about the same time. Do with that what you will. Nothing is ever as we're being told. Ever. And then there's this to finish it off. Iran and Israel are on the verge of a clash. The resistance chooses electoral silence. The latest American warning, factions are prohibited from moving. This is straight from an Iraqi newspaper, which is why it looks weird and is translated. A new narrative about the future of Iraq is emerging, coinciding with Mark Savaya, U.S. President Donald Trump's envoy to Baghdad, officially assuming his duties. This narrative revolves around a plan aimed at isolating Iran in preparation for a possible Israeli strike with American approval, with a focus on ensuring that no armed parties inside Iraq during the implementation of that operation. A senior Iraqi official revealed that an upcoming war, warning of the possibility of armed factions intervening during its outbreak, at a time when Iran had informed Iraqi officials about 2 weeks ago of what is described as an American plan to occupy Iraq. News is widely circulated within political circles about the resumption of the war between Iran and Israel, and about American arrangements aimed at preventing the intervention of armed factions in that potential war. Defense Minister Tabit al-Abbasi confirmed the story, noting that Baghdad received a warning from U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth during a call regarding the need to prevent factions from interfering in an imminent war in the region. Al-Abbasi explained that the call, which lasted about 11 to 12 minutes, was attended by the Army Chief of Staff, the Deputy Commander of Joint Operations, and Operations Assistant, and the Director of Military Intelligence. Al-Abbasi concluded by saying that his American counterpart ended the call with a clear warning phrase: "This is a final notification to you, and you know very well how the current administration will respond." Basically, what's going on here is the defense minister of Iraq received a call from Hegseth that says, we're planning something, possibly with Israel, to start striking Iran and Iran proxy groups that could go all the way from Iran to Syria to Lebanon to Iraq. We're telling you that we're going to do this, and you need to make sure that those groups do not start spreading around Iraq. You need to play defense while we do the offense. As Iraq's Al-Abbasi reveals Hegseth warning operations are coming. This is your final notice. Says Iraqi Defense Minister Al-Abbasi has disclosed that the U.S. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth directly warned Baghdad of imminent military operations in the region, urging Iraq to restrain pro-Iranian militias operating within its borders. Speaking in a televised interview late Saturday, Al-Abbasi said that the phone call made via the U.S. in Baghdad marked the clearest warning yet from the White House since renewed tensions with Tehran and its regional allies. Hegseth told us clearly that operations are coming and we must ensure no faction in Iraq interferes, Al-Abbasi said. He concluded the call with, "This is your final notice and you know very well how this administration will respond." Even talks about, according to the 11-minute phone call, top military brass, and so on and so forth. Yeah. So there's a chance that they are prepping for something again in the Middle East. So as of now, how it stands is we've got threats of war and military threats of war in Venezuela, Mexico, Iraq, and other regions over there, and Nigeria. This is coming from the president who claims that he's the peace president and he's ended more wars than any other president, which is just a lie. And now we're looking at possibly 4 more war fronts on top of it. I'm going to get out in front of this. So I don't think anybody has talked about this yet on this report, but it's only a matter of time. I'm going to get out in front of this right now. No, this is not Ezekiel 38. No, this is not the war that we've been waiting for. No, this is not any of that stuff that all these prophecy podcasts are going to grab onto this and start for the next couple of months using it to draw in clicks and views and subscribers and so on and so forth. And I'm just getting out in front of it right now. Don't get involved with that stuff. Just don't. It's just garbage. Keep a level head. Stay focused. Read your word. Read the scriptures. Don't base it off of your opinion. Don't base it off of their opinion. Don't base it off of anybody's opinion. Base it off the word of God. Realize that the coming events that are coming ahead in scripture that we know are coming, because the Bible says so, are going to be in different times and different scenarios and different situations than the times that we live in right now. Because if you base everything off the times that we're in right now, no wonder we're so confused about everything that's happening. This is just to let you guys know that there's been a report coming out straight from Iraq, straight from the Minister of Defense over there, that there may or may not be some action coming relatively soon. Again, we don't know. In the region involving Iran, United States, and Israel again. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens on that. Just, again, guys, I can't urge this enough. I know I sound like a broken record to a lot of people. I understand that, but please don't get wrapped up in the sensationalism stuff. Please don't. Just, there's already enough confusion and sensationalism in the church as it is. I'll just be honest. It's been a rough couple days. At least on my end. I'll just be honest with that. All because of this Babylon thing. It's remarkable. It's just remarkable. Just don't get caught up into it. We need to have clear view, clear sight of what's going on. And the only way that you can do that is through Jesus Christ. Now, that doesn't mean you can sit there and go with all the speculation and all the theories and all the opinions and all that stuff and go, well, I've got the Lord, so I've got discernment, so I'm good to go. Meanwhile, you're falling into all these traps and stuff like that. That's not how it works. Anybody can say anything. I could say that I'm the Queen of England. I've come back from the dead. Here I am. Oh, la, 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 la. Little wave. But that doesn't mean it's true. We need to make sure that we are grounded in the scripture and we base everything off the scripture. And we allow the Holy Spirit to guide us accordingly. And the only way that you can do that is, of course, when you have salvation in Jesus Christ, is that's when you receive the hope. That's when you receive life. That's when you receive the Holy Spirit. The only way that you can receive all of that is through the simple gospel of Jesus Christ, which is you admit that you're a sinner. The act of repentance, the changing of one's mind, turning from self to Christ. This entire world is just idolizing. And the mystery of religion is self-idolizing. It's about self. What do I have to do to exceed my humanity? And Jesus Christ says, no. Lose yourself and follow me. And so it's through the repentance that allows us to truly believe in Jesus Christ. We believe that Jesus Christ is the one and only begotten Son of God, that he came down 100% man, 100% God, the God-man, the one and only, to live the perfect sinless life. Again, the one and only to do so, which means he was the only one qualified to carry the sins of the world upon his shoulders, my sins upon his shoulders, where he carried them to the cross, where he was crucified. Again, he took my place upon that cross. That should have been me. Should be me. But he gave himself. He gave himself willingly, so I may live. He was crucified upon that cross and he died. But because there's power in the blood of Jesus Christ, because he did exactly as he said, exactly as he promised, and exactly as he prophesied. Many prophecies about his crucifixion, a death that, when prophesied, didn't even exist yet. More proof that the scripture is correct. He defeated death and rose again on the third day. It's by the power of his spilled blood that we receive salvation. We must believe in him believe in his death, burial, and resurrection, believe in the finished work upon that cross, where we may receive eternal life with all the glory given to the Lord. See, as we call upon the Lord, when we receive salvation, we also receive the sealing of the Holy Spirit that allows us to have a supernatural gift of communication to God, directly to God, direct access to the throne room of God. An incredible gift that I know personally I don't use enough. Something that I keep telling myself I need to get better at, because the scripture tells us to not cease, to continue prayer. And I fail at that. I need to get better at it. But we are given this wonderful gift where we get to communicate with God and say, Lord God, thank you. Thank you for sending your son, Jesus Christ, to live the perfect life, to carry my sins, and to sacrifice himself so that I may live. You gave your son so I may live. And so you deserve my life. I believe in that death, burial, and resurrection. I believe in the power of his blood. And I believe that he will come again and take us away, just as he promised in his word. Lord, give me the power and the strength to make it through each day. Give me the boldness to speak the name of Jesus in the darkest of places, where I may either be uncomfortable or it's unwelcome. Just give me the boldness to speak his name. Lord Jesus, we ask, please come soon. Maranatha. In your holy name we pray. Amen. Amen. Come soon, Lord Jesus. All right. Let's see here. Got a few questions here. It doesn't look like a lot of them. So we'll see what we can do on these. Will G, question: how are they voting today if there's no government? I'm guessing you're talking about like stuff in like California and New York and Virginia and stuff like that. Because those are state situations, and it's not technically federal government. That's how they can do it. So it has to do with state stuff, even though the federal government and the administration and stuff don't recognize state laws and state sovereignty and stuff like that. That's why. So it's just a different, smaller portion of the bigger problem. We'll just leave it at that. Let's see here. I knew somebody was going to ask me about this. Patrick, any thoughts on the new humanoid robot from X1? It's called the Neo. That costs $20,000 to help people with chores around the house. It is not what people think it is. First of all, they're not fully autonomous yet. There has to be controller people controlling it in order to help it learn and program to do things and stuff like that. So it's not fully autonomous. It can't pick up more than 50 pounds. If you guys paid attention to like the videos and the advertisement and stuff like that, it takes it roughly, 4 minutes or something like that to put 3 dishes into a dishwasher and close the door, which it couldn't even close the door very well and stuff like that. It's not at all what people think it is. It is not even close. So I wouldn't worry about it. I wouldn't worry about it. So I know that's the big hype right now is the Neo bots, and I wouldn't worry about it. I've seen other robots a couple years ago more advanced than what those things are. So it's just the next fad of it. It's kind of because they look like they kind of look like the bots from iRobot. I think that's why it's gaining traction. If you guys noticed, though, there's a lot of movies lately, the past couple of years, and more in production that all have to do with house robots that are humanoid that do like servant stuff around the house that are all of a sudden becoming evil, or people are having affairs with the robots and they're hiding it from their spouses and all that stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of that's the theme now. It used to be the superhero stuff, and now we're getting into the robotic stuff. Pretty interesting. That's all mystery religion too. Go read my free book. Download it online. Explains it all. Just letting you know. Let's see here. But yeah, no, Patrick, I wouldn't worry about the bot. It's not at all what people think. I remember when I first saw the thing, I was like, whoa, here we go. And then I did a little bit more research on it, and I'm like, man, this thing is junk. So, Victoria, question, what exactly is a digital twin and how does it work? It's kind of confusing to me. I don't know if you sent this after I explained what it was. Excuse me. Wow. Oh, indigestion. Yeah, I don't know if you sent this after I explained it. But just simply put, digital twin it's a virtual world that has taken identical plans of the world, streets, your house. It's gathered all the information from pictures and scans and all this type of stuff, and it has built a virtual world. And each individual person, me, you, everybody else, has a digital twin that lives in that world. And it's an AI program that has studied us and our environments and has built a world, and it runs simulations based upon the information it's gathered about us. It runs thousands of simulations per day to build predictive programming algorithms that can determine how you will move around the world and how you interact in the world. And it gets used for many different things. Military scenarios to come up with strategies for war. It comes up with tracking people's movements and decision making in crazy situations like the 2020 COOF situation. And then we talked about how there's things when it comes to designing robots in an Amazon warehouse, and it uses those digital twins and those virtual environments and the simulations in order to predict, build, and go forward with algorithms and stuff like that. So hopefully that explains it. Chris says, did you know that your hands can't be 12 inches long? If they were, then they wouldn't be hands anymore. They would be a foot. You're not wrong there, Chris. Not wrong there. What about the guy who walks on his hands? Wouldn't that still technically be considered a foot if he's walking on them all the time? Makes you think. And Wasso, question, if the military doesn't get paid, what do you think will happen? It's an interesting scenario, due to the fact that if the military dudes just, you can't just stop doing what they're doing, for many different reasons. So they can't necessarily just stop unless they're going to have a whole bunch of mutiny going on there. Then you have this situation of that now you're going to have military people putting their lives on the line, not getting paid. Their families are suffering because of it. And then you start wondering if those soldiers will actually start following orders or not, or anything like that. So there's way too many scenarios on that. But the thing is the military guys can't just stop. Unless you get the entire military to do it all at once, which I don't think that's going to happen. But yeah, there's many different outcomes to that. But that's why I brought up that scenario where if they do the Insurrection Act, there's the ability within that bill that allows them to tap into the defense funds anyways to pay paychecks. And then you have the Insurrection Act on top of it. And there's a whole bunch of things. So this is clearly a situation of wait and see. The thing, though, that I think the most emphasis that I am watching is when it comes to what's going on. Remember, ICE is still getting paid. DHS is still getting paid. Border Patrol is still getting paid. All these people, plus all the private security firms, are still getting paid, which means there's a whole private army that's still getting paid that's doing all the dirty work on the streets right now. And so that adds in a whole different mess to it. So keep that in mind. But yeah, I think there's just too many variables to try and figure out what would happen if the military stopped getting paid. Fiona Fab question, what other reason could Trump have regarding Nigeria? Well, I brought up the fact of right about the same time that Trump made that threat is about the same time that the oil mega dude came out and said that they're going to increase production by 2 to 3 times in Nigeria. So that's a big indicator on that. And there could be other things. There's been talks of regime change in Nigeria for decades now. Maybe they're going to go and do that. Look at what's going on with Venezuela. There's been talk of regime change with Venezuela for decades. And it looks like they're starting to do something there. Plus, you have the Mexico thing. It seems to me that they're planning strategic spots to start planting military down in that region, down in those regions over there. So there could be many factors to it. But the idea of Trump all of a sudden growing a heart, saying that he's going to go guns blazing into a country to protect Christians that have been getting murdered and persecuted since before his first term, I'm not buying it. I'm just not buying it. I've seen enough of this script to question that. Now, I don't necessarily have the answer, but I'm just not buying it. And last but not least, the peanut gallery. Oh, geez. To battle the killer rabbit of the cave of Caerbanog. What do you have to use? Well, against a rabbit that's dynamite, one must use the holy hand grenade. Bring forth the holy hand grenade. It's the only way to kill the monster. That rabbit's dynamite. Anyways. All right, guys. That's all I got. So, thank you guys for joining me. And usual spiel, if you guys can, like, share, subscribe. Get this out to as many people as you can. It's not about views, not about butts and seats, but it is about getting the warning out to people and getting people to Jesus. So if you guys can do me a solid and like, share, subscribe, I would appreciate it. We have a ton of people out there that are just looking for some idea and understanding of what's going on, and hopefully we can answer some of those questions and get them the gospel of Jesus Christ. And liking, sharing, and subscribing does help reach those people. If you guys can do that, that would be great. Also, make sure you guys follow me on Rumble and Telegram. Those are my backup channels. If I get booted off YouTube, we'll be backup live streaming over on Rumble, so make sure you guys follow me there. Telegram, post updates, announcements, and other little things here and there that I can't necessarily put in video format. That I just kind of throw up. And so go check those out, go follow and whatnot. If you don't like Rumble and Telegram, that's cool. Just make sure you guys go ahead and bookmark the WretchedWatchmen.com website. It's your one-stop shop to stay up to date on everything Wretched Watchmen and all the stuff going on. And then you'll find the latest podcasts, live streams, announcements. The free book that I keep referencing is there. Just press download and it's yours, and all that type of stuff. And so make sure you guys bookmarked the website just in case I fall off YouTube or Rumble or anything like that. Last but not least, if you guys like to support this channel, what I got going on, I got donation links down below. CashApp, Venmo, and GiveSendGo. This channel is not monetized. I don't make anything from ads, views, or anything like that. Run solely off of your guys' generous donations. So if you guys like to support this channel and what I got going on, I got donation links down below. Thank you guys for your support and your blessings, and your prayers and encouragement and everything. You guys are amazing, and I thank the Lord for you guys. So appreciate it. All right, guys. That's all I got. Yeah, I'll just leave it right here. So make sure, what is it? Today's Tuesday. So yeah, Saturday. So make sure you guys come on Saturday. Same time, same place. I forgot what I was going to say as I was saying it. Imagine that. Anyways, Saturday, same time, same place. If the Lord does not come back by then, I'll see you guys then. All right. Peace out and Maranatha.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.